Ben's going to be here in a minute or two.
Yeah. But you were like, let's do this thing. No, I was like, let's do this thing.
We're saying, let's do this thing.
Yeah. Because you have this wonderful group of people here.
Incredible. Yeah, thank you guys so much. This is great.
So since Ben isn't here yet, I can ask you about your character. What do you admire most about? Yeah.
I mean, I don't. We're all so myopic that we think the streams run through our characters, right? But I do think that Harvey, he wasn't like a kind of theatrical villain, and he wasn't completely a good guy. I think Harvey's kind of the most godly character, right? Like just in terms of just being, I live in this apartment, I've seen this town for many decades, you know, I've been around the block, and so I thought that he was a little bit of the everyman that could be, you know, a little bit of an everyday perspective on what it was like to be like. He was the one that would say, "This is insane," because it was insane. And so I love that Harvey he wasn't one or the other. He was pretty.
He lived in the gray, kind of, right?
Lived in the gray. You know, and early on, and certainly Ben can attest to this, but people were like, "You're bad and he's good," and I was like,
life is more complicated than that.
and you know, certainly Jim Gordon was more complicated than that. He definitely walked on the other side of the fence a lot to get things done that needed to be done. So I think that's where Harvey rubbed off on Jim. You know.
What part of his arc were you most surprised by? Because obviously you start out with a character and then you kind of, you know, the show develops and you end up with like totally different.
What part? You know, I have to say I wasn't that surprised by it.
All along you were like...
I kind of knew that he would be reluctant to take this young do-gooder on, but that this guy would kind of change him morally to see things his way, to care. Because I think before Jim Gordon showed up, Harvey just wanted to either take graft money for a couple more years before he got to retire, but Jim kept him around.
Which Batman, aside from Gotham Batman, is the best Batman?
Well,
or which is your Batman?
I would say weirdly, Michael Keaton. And but that being said, I honestly think Christian Bale's like the greatest actor going. You know, you see the fighter, and the prestige, like that guy. Hey. Did I say Christian Bale? Ben McKenzie.
Thank you.
The greatest Batman.
I never played Batman, but I'll take it.
Welcome.
Ah, good to see you again.
How's it going?
Good.
So, what is a memorable behind-the-scenes moment for the two of you?
So much tea at craft service.
Yeah.
What type of tea?
Tea? He makes a mean tea. He's Irish. You know, make a mean tea. You too?
That was our thing.
It's a mean cup of
A
tea.
little bit of it was very cold. Gotham was, I remember being freezing all the time, and so tea was our thing.
Indeed. That's not very juicy though. What do we have from?
I mean, still liquid though. So.
Yeah. We were in a lot of like crazy gunfights and like crazy. There was always like some big set piece in the middle of the episode. It was like, what are you laughing at? Just all the stuff we did. Like,
It was 5 years of craziness.
I know.
I will say really quickly, one of the nuttiest things was we were shooting that scene in the bank with the 50 cals, but my humor was so shot.
Oh yeah.
So I go over across the street, and the Teamsters were like, we were in the Bronx, and they go, watch out, there's a raccoon, and if you see him during the day, they're rabid. This guy's sick. I'm like, where is he?
this story.
Like, be careful. You heard this story? So this raccoon, I'm watching him, and he's going through the fence in the Bronx, one of the most depressing places. God bless it.
Yeah, okay.
So he walks out in the street, and he's twitching, and he's sick. And so all we can do is put up cones to try and protect this dude from drugs and stuff. And I look up and I'm like, how's the raccoon doing? Like, he's right over there. And I look up and the raccoon walks away from his cone in the garbage truck. I'm like, damn, Gotham! Gotham! It's so
No mercy in Gotham.
Dude, the Bronx does not
Yeah.
They'll chew you up and spit you out.
Yeah.
Or run you over with a garbage truck.
Right.
Yeah.
It was a very Gotham moment.
Yeah.
But thank you, Ben, for protecting me from the 50 cal moment.
Yeah, sure.
Do either of you have set memorabilia?
We were just talking about that. You want to fill them in? Or not? Should we skip that part?
That you were allowed or not allowed to?
There may have been a few suits that walked off. I mean, I wore a lot of suits.
Yeah.
And I'm not a guy who's going to go buy a bunch of suits. So.
I may or may not have ended up with a couch from Wayne Manor.
How did you theoretically acquire a couch? Like, that's a tough thing to
No,
smuggle.
I had to run it through the proper channels.
Oh, that's not.
Because it's been since day one of the pilot. I was like, Mom, that's, never did that before. And then whatever jobs I've done, but I was like, man, what do you guys, because they usually auction it off at the end of. Yeah, that was killer furniture.
Yeah, dude.
I was gonna say, did you want it for like the comfort factor or just the memories that it's been there the whole time?
He's
Or is
just
it
gonna
a really nice
he's
couch?
gonna just put it in his house with a plaque, let's say Wayne Manor couch. Being class.
I put stuff in storage 9 years ago around the time of Vikings, and I don't have furniture, I just got it out. I'm just finally back home.
I would assume a couch is slightly more practical in everyday life than anything from the set of Vikings. Only slightly, possibly.
I don't know what you have from Vikings.
Nothing, I never took it. Never took it from another show.
Right.
But yes,
Not like
I'm
a summer
just saying it's
Sanders.
hypothetical. No one's saying that I have a couch.
No.
Right.
Or paintings from Wayne Manor.
Beautifully, oil paintings. At least they're not recording this. So.
No, not at all.
Media outlets.
That would be terrible.
You're gonna go cool.
There were a lot of great guests on Gotham.
There were, man.
Who were some of the ones you were most excited to have on the show?
Because one of the great things about shooting in New York is that there would be all these incredible actors who were mainly doing theater who would come on and give these great performances. So, people like Michael Cerveris, who played Professor Pig, who was like a multiple Tony winner, incredible.
Did you and Marita rehearse that answer? Because you both gave it separately.
I know.
Is it Michael? Did she say that too?
Yeah.
You brought up yesterday, so it's like fresh in my mind. I mean, the problem is there's so many that I forget. Who else?
I predict because I was a huge fan of Julian Sands.
Oh yeah.
He was uncle.
He was. Who did he play?
The Scarecrow.
The Scarecrow's father in the first season, right? Yeah.
And I love Charlie, who played the Scarecrow, and obviously, Cameron. We had how many people? Like hundreds.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. And then the villains, even probably there were 50 or 100 essential iconic villains over the course of 5 years. It's crazy. Yeah.
I thought Andrew was great too. Who played old Penguin's kind of like
Oh yeah.
bookkeeper and
The
ventriloquist. But obviously, James Frank, Michael Chiklis, they were more part of the show, so it's not. They weren't guests. They were more.
Yeah. It felt like we started off, we're like, we're gonna have one big baddie overarching, we'll have baddies who will come in for little gigs, and then we'll have like one per season. And then by the end of it was like, well, we'll have 1 and 2 and 3, and just throw them all in there. It got pretty nice.
Richard Kind.
Is he a villain? No.
Incredible actor.
All politicians have no.
No.
He was such a great. Did you guys like him? They were all. They right?
Mayor.
The mayor.
Harvey James.
Or James, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, for Richard Kind, I just go to Bing Bong from Inside Out.
Sure.
Yeah, that's
Sure.
Yeah.
Iconic.
He is.
Juxtaposition. This is a question inspired by Chris Hatfield from earlier today, our commander friend. What does a normal weekend look like for you? Because he apparently spent his weekends like becoming an astronaut. So.
Oh wow.
Who did?
Chris Hatfield, the
actual
man who's been to space.
No, he's an astronaut.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what does your weekend look like?
I bet he gets up before I do. He probably does more before 6 a.m.
Before 8 a.m. than I've done in my whole life.
That's exactly right. No, yeah. My weekends are, kids and random activities, and I wouldn't say it's a lot of kid stuff. What about you? What do you do over the weekend? I don't know, Donal.
You know, my weekend now is pretty, a lot of hanging out with my friend Jill's house. With
Yeah,
Bernice, and then jujitsu on Sundays. That's a guaranteed one. So that's a.
How does Donal Logue relax? Jiu-jitsu.
You see Harvey
Sundays.
Bullock. He's the most. I'm the most out of shape.
Yeah, that's not true.
nothing. But now it's after you get done with
It's
the
helpful,
you
man.
change. Yeah.
It's a good stress reliever.
Yeah. My kids and I are like, I'm hanging with my kids are older now. So, but when Gotham started, Ben had no kids. Was a single guy.
It's true.
And that was Christmas of season 1, he was like, I'm going to Miami to hang out with somebody. Son, by Christmas of season 2?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was season 3, I can't remember. But like, how old's Francis?
Francis is 3.5. Yeah.
It's quite a personal character arc.
It's incredible to watch.
Yeah, totally.
Happen in the midst of this. But Ben was our captain, he was our leader, he was the set, he was the guy who shouldered most of the, when Ben shouldered the work on Gotham.
That is
From
not true.
season
You and I both were in the trenches, man. And you really find out what people are made of when you work those kind of crazy hours and you're around people for a long, long period of time. And it's a testament to what a great group the producers assembled. That like everything was pretty functional. It never got weird. People worked hard and did a good job. It was a very technically difficult, ambitious show to make, right? Because they wanted to shoot a certain way, it had to have a certain look, a certain patina, it had a certain stylistically there was a lot of coverage. There was a lot of special effects and practical effects and all kinds of stuff. And man, you want a real pro in there, and that's what Donal is.
Ben wrote episodes, he directed episodes of Gotham, and that was a real joy, real treat.
It was fun.
But yeah, we didn't have any. I have to say, sometimes you can't really tell from the outside, but there are some shows that are so embroiled in the most ridiculously pathetic things. Although some of them are there was a time when Ben and I would engage in a lot of fake pre-take super arguments.
Yes.
There were some shows where the actors were famously were talking at each other right before the camera. We would do that.
What would one of those arguments be over you?
It has to be the stupidest stuff, right?
You mean on the
fake
shows?
ones? The fake ones.
No, the fake ones.
What would you choose
we would just go nuts. It was ridiculous.
Well, one of the jokes that we always had was everyone always assumes that TV stars make a lot more money than they actually do. So our jokes was over we would each give each other white Lamborghinis every year, which we did not do.
Every episode,
that's
So
right.
generous.
So I'd be talking casually to people and they're like, "Yeah, did you get? I got Ben a Bugatti for last night." Be like, "That's crazy, man. Did you know that dude bought him a Bugatti?"
And then we'd argue about it. Yeah.
Which of you was on the project first? Because obviously the chemistry between the two.
Well, that's funny. That's a funny story. You tell it. Do you want to tell the story?
It's true though. Right?
It is.
So in October, I think it was certainly before I came back from Vikings, and I had a meeting with Bruno Heller, and so I went and met with Bruno, and he said we're concocting this thing in Canada, one new, and would you like to come on as Harvey Bullock? He's the kind of mentor to Jim Gordon who comes in, and it's going to be noirish, LA kind of, almost LA noir detective show set in Gotham. And I was like, yeah, I'm totally on board. And some guy who pays people money got some, there's some internet rumor that Jim Gordon came out, which was completely stupid. But I do think I was Bruno had...
It's not stupid at all. It's just without context, you don't know if you're doing the Gordon that we've often seen in the movies and even in the comics often is the older Gordon. So are we doing, Gordon seasoned detective / commissioner, or are we doing an origin story? So yeah, there was this crazy rumor that you were going to be Jim Gordon.
But I knew, I obviously knew it was completely fake, because Bruno told me that it's, it would be, and I don't know if they didn't tell me, Ben knew my sister from Southland. Not well, she worked on Southland. She really enjoyed working with Ben, and I just think that they didn't say anything because right? There was probably, they had...
I don't know, Bruno, yeah, we had worked together, so that was kind of in the works, but he didn't call me until January of that year. And then we started chatting about it. But yeah, I didn't know Donal personally, but I felt like I did because of, you know, not only his sister, who's an awesome actress, who on Southland played a prostitute who I had by the neck, by the throat, like, and was like, give it to me, real. Like, she was like so intense, yeah, throwdown. And so I was like, I bet you know, and I knew your resume, and I was like, I think everything's gonna be fine. But also, Brett Harrison from Grounded for Life. I remember I called Brett and I was like, tell me about this Donal Logue. And he was like, oh, he's the greatest dude, and he's a pro, and anyway. It was very smart for Bruno to put us together, I think. You know, knowing, I don't know, he didn't really know you yet, right? He knew me because we worked together.
But you know what, those guys call each other.
Right, everybody.
They call each other to go, you work with this dude, what's he like? Which makes a lot of sense because...
It's a small town.
Small town. Well, and personal...
They're long days.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was, I think, yeah, I was the first person on board, and, you know, I was just so lucky, and they got an incredible cast together. I knew Robin or Taylor from, he auditioned for something I was doing 10 years before. He didn't get it, but he's amazing, obviously, and then the rest of us were just to meet everyone, just to meet the chorus, and they put together an incredible cast.
We'll take audience questions in a moment, if anyone wants to line up. Do you have any advice for anyone who is an aspiring thespian out there? Or aspiring superhero?
Sure. Aspiring superhero?
Let's go actor.
I'm an aspiring superhero, I guess. Am I? Yeah, I mean, I think the best actors are interested in a bunch of different stuff. You know, I think you know, if you want to pursue it as a career, it certainly doesn't hurt to study it. I'm in favor of people going to school first, you know, these college, because it's a weird business, and you can like have some ups and downs, and like find yourself older without a fallback. So I favor college, but yeah, just do as much as you can, do anything you can. Don't be afraid of putting yourself out there. I mean, don't do
in a PG way.
Yeah,
like, yeah.
Don't do anything that you feel uncomfortable.
Anything that sounds fake is fake.
That's good.
Anyone who wants money from you is full of it.
Right.
And it's like skateboarding or baseball or singing and songwriting or dancing. If you don't do it, you're not going to be good at it.
Right.
You can watch other people do it and go, man, I bet you I'd be cool at this.
Right.
But until you do it for the first time, or you're on stage going, man, I got a bunch of stuff to memorize and give to these people. It's a craft, and you have to learn how to do it.
That's right. 10,000 hours or whatever that Malcolm's Gladwell things. Yeah.
I think that latter advice is applicable to anything, right? Like,
Yes.
just go and do it.
And when people think it doesn't, they're like, can't pick up the phone. I've never done it. Pick up the phone and get me a career. I'm like, dude, could I pick up the phone and get the Lakers to sign you? No. Have you ever played basketball? No. But I look cool with a basketball. That's right.
You know, how hard can it be? The ball goes in the hoop. Yeah.
Easy.
I see it all the time.
I see it all the time.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
Game over.
Yeah, totally.
All right.
So there is a new DC show out called Pennyworth, and it's by Bruno Heller and Danny Cannon.
What?
And yeah,
This is the first time hearing of it.
so I actually did press for the show at Comic-Con, and Danny Cannon is a total character. I'm
Yes.
like low-key obsessed with him now.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if you had any memorable stories from working with him, but also really quick, Ben, do you have anything to say about when you first saw the SNL parody of the OC death scene?
No, I mean, that was funny. Yeah, it was really funny. Shia LaBeouf, right? Shia LaBeouf, yeah. There's this like hilarious OC death scene that they made fun of. Like this crazy slow-mo. Who is he? Who does he play in it? He plays...
Well, it's got Andy Samberg in it, and it's The Lonely Island, and so they do the what you say over and over on a loop.
I forget who he plays. Anyway, so wait, the first part was about Danny Cannon, right? Most of Danny Cannon's stories start with him yelling at the top of his lungs. That's how like his sort of like he's such a sweet dude, and when you get to know him, but he's like an absolute field general out there. He's one of those guys who has probably directed, what, like 20 pilots, and probably 18 of them have gone to series. Like, he has an unbelievable track record. He knows every person's job on the set, probably better than they do, except for the actors. And he just knows what he's doing, man. So you trust him, you know, and he earns your trust very quickly, and he's honestly the hardest working guy on set too. So he's good.
Quiet, and then crazy scene, he'll walk over, just to focus on the camera.
Yeah.
But he's a perfectionist on every front, and that's why he makes incredibly good television.
Yeah.
He came from the CSI world and
he created the CSI.
He created the CSI world. He really was the driving force behind Gotham. Like, if you talk about Gotham, it really is. Danny was the creative force behind it. Mm-hmm. And Pennyworth looks cool.
Looks super cool.
Yeah.
Ben, I love your work on Southland. I was wondering if that had any influence on your portrayal of Jim Gordon in Gotham.
Yeah, it did. Southland was more realistic in terms of the, procedural element. I mean, the technical, cop stuff. So we trained with LAPD, but I tried to bring, a lot of that stuff that I learned to Gotham and infuse it with a little bit of at least mild plausibility. I remember asking Bruno Heller if we could have usually have a technical advisor on set when you're doing a cop show that's supposed to be realistic, and he was like, at the end of the day you're going to be battling supernatural
Mr.
Freeze with his freeze gun. So you had to play a little fast and loose with some of the tactics that you'd use as a cop, but there's a mentality and there's a way of holding yourself, and I think between the two of us, we made it, plausible.
Ben in Southland, they trained, they did high speed.
We did
driving courses, and he knows his stuff so well, and I think it's important. And now because of Ben, if I watch, I have played a lot of cop shows. Now if I watch stuff that's really not, it's your job. If you're a cop to, how do people hold guns? How do they approach it?
Right.
And he does that as well.
Have you had to do any of the boot camp stuff? Because you have been on quite.
You've been in a ton of stuff. You've done military stuff.
I did military boot camps, for.
You were doing
Oliver Stone movie a long time ago.
That's right.
Called Heaven and Earth, and from Civil War or for the Patriot,
That's right.
I'm not sure how applicable muskets are now, but
yeah. Too much gunplay.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Thanks for the question.
Hi, my question is for Donal Logue. I was wondering, what was it like playing a vampire in the movie Blade?
Dude, they gotta have you back for the new one. They gotta have you back for the new one.
No, come on, what's up with that? I enjoyed being a naughty vampire god. Blade was one of the most fun things of all time. It was it was not like a job, it was just a blast. We had as much fun as it probably looked like we were having. But yeah, and it was the first, it's really kind of arguably really the first Marvel movie.
Yeah.
And they were so bold and cool to have, to have have a superhero. Have Wesley as this
I was
first
gonna say,
superhero.
Black Panther is not technically.
No, it's not. I don't mean to be because
Yeah.
Blade gets the respect, but that was cool. They were on the right go from the get-go. And I know that Marvel, it was at a different point in its history. It was not, that Marvel became what it became was not a fait accompli, so it was incredibly fun. Thanks.
If you could be any villain from Gotham, who would you be?
I'm gonna keep going back to the Professor Pigwell. I'm gonna do that, Professor Pig. That's me.
Villain from Gotham. I couldn't do it, but I think, what Cameron did with with Jerome Jeremiah. Actually that would be too challenging to be, but that, I don't know. I love Corey and Robin so much too, that what they did. I just love watching those guys I love watching them work. That was amazing. Thank you.
Hi Ben, how did you develop the voice of Gordon? Did you sound like that during auditions already? Or?
No, I was different register. I remember looking at the scripts and Gordon is such a he's such a throwback. He's he's an old school detective. I remember Donal describing the cars that we drive. It's like when you draw a car as a kid, you're like a bad artist, the square cars, from the 50s, or the 60s. That's where he's from. He's from a time where honor and, sacrifice and loyalty and all these sort of, grander, more, I guess patriotic or
Chivalrous.
Chivalry is a good word. Concepts came into play, and that's the juxtaposition, right? One of the primary juxtapositions. He's living in a world where it's completely fallen and decadent and indulgent, and he's just not that guy, right? And so I remember reading the scripts and going, it might have been, I guess it was the pilot, and going, he's so kind of like, this is not how it is. And so I started just kind of going, you gotta own it. I mean, you can't.
Harvey, I don't agree with your police tactics here.
You gotta just kind of go, he's John Wayne. I mean, it's a Western. He's John Wayne, and he's standing there with his, 6-shooter just going, come at me. Or Humphrey Bogart or somebody like that. He just stares the bad guy in the eye and he says, all right, put him up. So that's where the voice came from, I guess.
I think Tom Hanks said something about, because there was not a timelessness to Gotham, but there was this, it's hard to, is it Dickensian London? Is it, 50s? Is it 70s, 80s?
Kind of like a period piece without having a period.
Without defining it, right? But Tom Hanks said something about that, which was people just didn't speak. They spoke differently back then. They were more careful about what they said. They weren't so loose with the language, and I think that's what.
Yeah. Gordon is not a man of small talk, and these were not men of small talk, and he kind of, everything about him was a little bit rigid. The way Danny and Bruno described it was a blend of an LA Confidential, Bud White, and it was
Guy Pearce.
Guy Pearce's character and Russell's character, sort of between the two, right? He could be both the kind of stickler for the rules and the rough and tumble guy at the same time. But that was a great reference because it also had a time limit, 1950, so it had a sense to it, period-wise. Yeah. Good question. Thanks.
So we have 3 minutes left, and we're going to try and speed through these.
Okay. Gotham had a lot of good arcs. Which was your both favorite arcs that you had on the show, story arcs?
Oh, that we had?
Yeah.
Oof. I had fun when, it was nice to occasionally let loose because I was playing so such a stoic kind of guy. So when we did the Clayface stuff, I liked, I liked the identity swapping stuff because it was just an opportunity to make fun of yourself, and that was kind of nice. But
from the get-go, when Jim Gordon first was in the GCPD, and I flipped down a newspaper, who's this dude? That was the ride I was on for 5 seasons. Just Harvey wondering what Jim's play is and backing him in.
And then you always had to play, the guy who's going to throw the bad idea so that I throw the good idea, or
I had so much fun. And by the end of it, the scenes we did in the captain's office, even when Jim comes in and says, you're out,
right.
It got so, I felt like our scenes in the captain's office started getting heavier and heavier. And it was great. That was so fun.
Thanks.
Hi.
Both of you did great representations of the characters, and I think a lot of us enjoyed not just a different take, but also that you had such great actors supporting you. That I'll speak for everybody who believe in this, but I feel that the show could have kept going on, but that's just being fans. I'm just curious, would you ever like to see a full-length film that kind of bridged over? Because we saw a taste of it and would have loved to see a lot of the characters just do a film that just kind of showed the bridge instead of showing him coming back being an adult, but seeing Gordon, of course, age, having everybody really become the characters that the comic books portrayed.
Yeah, I think that would be great. It'd be super fun.
I mean, I always felt, we talked about it, there's so many stories in that DC world. It would have been really easy to envision a world where we did 10 or 12 seasons of it, and David naturally became someone in his mid to late 20s, so, yeah. But absolutely, we could reprise these in a heartbeat.
All right, last one, super fast.
Can you tell me of a backseat story about Jada Pinkett Smith, and would you ever go on a Red Table Talk?
Yeah, go on a Red Table Talk for sure. That's her,
Facebook.
That's right, the thing, the series.
Absolutely, I watch it, yeah.
Yeah, you're sorry, you want a behind the scenes story about her? Jada's just a pro. I mean, Joe's just a stone cold pro. Like, she just, so she was in the first season, and then she'd like pop in every once in a while, like unkillable. And she's just a pro. She was there to do it well. She's super easy to get along with, and invaluable, because she's like such a massive presence in this very like intense, in a good way, like small package. She was cool. She was cool.
There was a lot of filming on season 1, especially because the rivers were both frozen that year, but we had some nights that were definitely 30 below with wind chill and stuff, and Jada's in the cocktail kind of fish weenie dress, and I've never seen anyone not, like, just show up, do her thing, stand on the dock, it's freezing, doesn't complain about anything. She was, like Ben said, just an amazing person and a stone cold pro. And the Red Table Talk is awesome. I think she got nominated for an Emmy. I don't know how.
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
That is all we have time for.
Awesome. Well,
But thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.